I watched the blood drain from his face in real time. Marcus Chen, tech CEO, philanthropist, man of the year according to Silicon Valley Business Journal, stood frozen at his own black tie gala while his daughter, held the microphone on stage, 18 years old, wearing the dress I'd bought her, about to say words he never imagined he'd hear. "I'm his daughter," she said, "and I just want everyone here to know what kind of man writes the checks you're all celebrating tonight." The ballroom held 400 people. Not one of them was breathing. "Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here with me today. Let me know in the comments which city you're watching from, because what I'm about to tell you is going to make you question everything you thought you knew about justice, family, and the price of walking away. You just saw the moment that made Marcus Chen's perfect life implode. But to understand how we got there, how a single mother and her teenage daughter brought down a man worth over $6 million, I need to take you back 18 years. Back to the day he left me 8 months pregnant and never looked back. Back to when I was 26 years old, broke, and supposedly powerless. My name is Jennifer Morrison. I was a junior financial analyst at a mid-sized investment firm in San Francisco when I met Marcus. This was 2006. He was 31, already climbing fast at a tech startup that would eventually become CloudSync Solutions. I was making $62,000 a year. He was making just over $110,000 with stock options that would be worth something someday. We met at an industry mixer. He quoted Warren Buffett. I corrected him on the attribution. He bought me a drink and told me I was the smartest woman in the room. I should have known then. Men who lead with that line are telling you exactly what they think of other women. But I was 26 and tired of dating finance bros who talked about their Porsche leases. Marcus seemed different. He talked about building something meaningful, changing how companies handle data security, making the world better through technology. All the things that sound so good when you're young and you want to believe that ambition means the same thing as integrity. We moved in together after 9 months, got married at City Hall after a year and a half. His parents flew in from Taiwan. My mother drove up from Los Angeles and spent the entire reception telling anyone who would listen that I was marrying up. That Marcus came from good stock, that his father owned 3 car dealerships and his mother had been a professor of mathematics before she retired. My mother has always been very invested in other people's credentials. Her own resume, 2 failed marriages, and a job managing a dry cleaning franchise never seemed to factor into her calculations about who deserved respect. I got pregnant in January of 2008. We talked about kids. Marcus said he wanted them eventually. I thought eventually had arrived. I was 28. He was 33. We had a 2-bedroom apartment in the Mission District. I was pulling in $74,000 by then. He'd just been promoted to Senior Director of Engineering with a salary of $165,000 plus equity. We could afford a child. We were stable. We were married. I told him on a Tuesday night, February 5th. I remember because I'd bought a little pair of baby shoes and hidden them in a gift box. Very Pinterest, very naive. He opened the box at the dinner table, looked at the shoes, looked at me, and said, "We need to talk about timing." Timing, like I'd scheduled a meeting during his lunch block. He wanted me to wait. The company was about to close a Series B funding round, $8.2 million. He was in line for VP of Engineering if it went through. This was his moment. His chance to really build something. A baby would be a distraction. Could I just, and these were his exact words, could I just hold off for a year or two? I explained that I was already pregnant, already as in currently, as in the biological process had commenced and was not subject to rescheduling. He was quiet for a long time, then he said, "I need to think." You know what I did? I waited, I gave him space. I told myself he was processing, that he'd come around once the shock wore off. I went to my first appointment alone. And my second and my third, every time I mentioned it, he changed the subject, dove into his phone, remembered an urgent email. By my 4th month, we were barely speaking. By my 6th month, he was sleeping in the 2nd bedroom. By my 8th month, he was gone. He left on a Sunday. October 19th, 2008. I was 32 weeks pregnant. My ankles were swollen. I couldn't see my feet. I'd started maternity leave the week before because sitting at a desk for 8 hours was causing contractions. I was home alone watching the financial crisis destroy the economy on CNN when Marcus walked in with 2 large suitcases. "I can't do this," he said. "Not we need to talk, not I'm struggling, not I'm scared, just I can't do this." I asked him what this was. "The baby, me, our marriage, all of it," he said. "I'm not ready to be a father. I'm not ready to be locked into this life. I'm 33 years old and I feel like I'm suffocating." I was sitting on the couch in maternity yoga pants and one of his old Stanford t-shirts. I had stretch marks and heartburn and a human being growing inside me who was running out of room. And my husband, the man who'd promised in front of a judge to love and honor me, was telling me he felt suffocated. I asked him where he was going. "I got a place in Soma. I need space to figure things out." I asked him if he was coming back. He looked at me like I'd asked if he believed in Santa Claus. "Jenny, we both know this isn't working." And then he left, took his suitcases, took his laptop, took his car, left me with 4 weeks until my due date and half the rent due in 11 days. I called my mother that night, told her what happened. You know what she said? What did you do? Not I'm so sorry, not what a bastard, not I'm coming up there right now. She asked me what I had done to drive him away, whether I'd gained too much weight, whether I'd been nagging him about the baby. Whether I'd considered that maybe he had a point about timing. I hung up on her. I didn't speak to her again for 7 months. My daughter was born on November 23, 2008, 7 pounds 9 ounces. She had Marcus's dark hair and my green eyes and the angriest cry I'd ever heard. I named her Sophie. Sophie Elizabeth Morrison, not Chen Morrison. He wasn't there for the birth, didn't answer when the hospital called, didn't send flowers or a card or a text message. He did send a check, $3,000. It arrived 4 days after Sophie was born with a note that said, for immediate expenses. Like he was a distant uncle contributing to a niece's college fund. Not a father, not a husband, a donor. I cashed it. I needed it. My maternity leave was unpaid and my savings were evaporating faster than I'd calculated. Rent was $2,100 a month. Utilities were another $200. Diapers, formula, doctor's visits. It added up faster than I could track. By January, I was back at work with Sophie in daycare that cost $1,400 a month. By March, I'd burned through every dollar I had and taken a cash advance on my credit card to cover the gap. I filed for divorce in April of 2009. I couldn't afford an attorney, so I did it myself. Downloaded the forms from the California court's website, filled them out at my kitchen table while Sophie screamed in her bouncer, filed them at the courthouse on my lunch break. Paid the $435 filing fee with money I'd borrowed from my coworker Linda. Marcus didn't contest it, didn't even respond. The divorce was finalized in November of 2009, 11 months after Sophie was born. The settlement gave me full custody, which I already had since he'd never met her. It also gave me child support. The amount was calculated based on his income and California state guidelines. The judge ordered him to pay $1,673 per month. He paid for 6 months, then he stopped. I should have gone back to court immediately, should have filed for enforcement, should have hired an attorney and fought, but I was drowning. I was working 50 hours a week and coming home to a 1-year-old who wouldn't sleep and bills I couldn't pay and a checking account that hit zero every month by the 20th. I barely had time to shower. I definitely didn't have time to navigate the family court system alone. So I survived. I moved to a cheaper apartment in Dali City. 1 bedroom, 700 square feet, $1,100 a month. I sold my car and took BART to work. I bought Sophie's clothes at Target and Goodwill. I ate ramen and peanut butter and whatever leftovers I could scavenge from office lunches. I stopped going out, stopped seeing friends, stopped doing anything that wasn't work or Sophie or sleep. And you know what? I was good at my job, really good. By 2011, I was a senior analyst making $91,000 a year. By 2013, I was an associate director making $114,000. By 2015, I was a VP making $158,000. I was managing a team of 6 people. I was closing deals. I was getting headhunted by bigger firms. But none of that mattered to my mother or to my sister, or to anyone in my family who decided that my life was a cautionary tale about choosing the wrong man. My sister Rachel got married in June of 2016. Big wedding in Pasadena, 250 guests, ceremony at a historical estate, reception with a 12-piece band. Her husband Jason was a corporate attorney, made $220,000 a year, drove a BMW, had a house in South Pasadena with a pool. Rachel had been very careful to mention all of these details in the 18 months between her engagement and her wedding. I was invited. Sophie was invited. We were listed on the seating chart at table 17 with my mother's coworkers from the dry cleaning place and Jason's great-aunt who had dementia. I bought Sophie a new dress, navy blue with white flowers, $68 at Nordstrom Rack. I bought myself a dress too, simple black sheath, nothing fancy. I'd lost the baby weight years ago, but I didn't have the budget or the time for anything elaborate. I did my own hair, did Sophie's hair. We took BART to Pasadena and showed up on time. My mother took one look at me and said, "That's what you're wearing?" We were in the bridal suite. Rachel was getting her makeup done. My mother was drinking champagne and criticizing the florist's choice of roses. I just walked in with 7-year-old Sophie holding my hand. "It's a dress," I said. "It's a cocktail dress. This is a formal wedding." The invitation said semi-formal. Well, Rachel wanted formal. Everyone knows that. My mother looked at Sophie. "And you couldn't have afforded something nicer for her. She looks like she's going to a school play." Sophie's hand tightened around mine. She was 7. She understood every word. "We should go find our seats," I said. "Table 17, my mother said. "In the back." I didn't argue. I took Sophie to table 17. We sat with strangers. We ate rubber chicken and drank watered-down iced tea and watched Rachel and Jason have their first dance to a Sinatra song. When the toast started, my mother stood up and talked about how proud she was of Rachel. How Rachel had always been the smart one, the pretty one, the one who made good choices. how Jason was exactly the kind of man a mother dreams her daughter will find. She didn't look at me once. After dinner, Sophie asked if we could leave. She was tired. Her feet hurt from the new shoes. She wanted to go home and watch a movie. I told her we'd leave right after the cake. We could skip the dancing. We'd take the train home and order pizza, and she could stay up late. That's when Rachel found me. Jenny, she was glowing, champagne drunk and happy and wrapped in $10,000 of silk and lace. You're leaving already? Sophie's tired. But you just got here. We've been here for 4 hours. Well, you have to stay for the dancing. Jason's firm is sending a whole group. They're all single, very successful. You should meet them. I looked at my sister. At her perfect makeup and her perfect dress and her perfect new husband dancing with his perfect mother. And I said, I'm fine, Rachel. I'm just saying, you're what, 34? That's not old. You could still meet someone, start over, give Sophie a real family. I felt Sophie's hand slip back into mine. We are a real family, I said. Rachel laughed, actually laughed. You know what I mean, a normal family, a dad who's actually around, stability. You can't tell me you want to do this alone forever. I'm not doing it alone. I have Sophie, right, but Rachel lowered her voice, leaned in like she was sharing a secret. Don't you want her to have what I had? 2 parents, a nice house, a father who actually shows up. I could have said a lot of things in that moment. I could have reminded her that our father left when we were 9 and 11, that our mother married a man who lasted 18 months before he also disappeared. That Rachel's definition of stability was as fictional as her definition of normal. But Sophie was standing right there, listening, learning what family sounds like when it's honest, so I just said, we're leaving, congratulations on your wedding. I didn't speak to Rachel for 8 months after that, but here's the thing nobody tells you about being a single mother who's also climbing the corporate ladder. You get really, really good at compartmentalizing. You learn to smile through the condescension. You learn to let the comments slide. You learn to save your energy for battles that actually matter, and you learn to document everything. I'd been tracking Marcus's career for years, not obsessively, not daily, but every few months I'd Google his name, check his LinkedIn, see what CloudSync Solutions was up to. In 2016, they went public. I watched the stock price climb, watched Marcus's net worth balloon from comfortable to obscene. He'd been promoted to Chief Technology Officer in 2014. His salary was public record after the IPO. Base salary of $380,000. Stock options worth another $2.1 million at the offering price, and that was just the beginning. By 2017, CloudSync was worth $450 million. Marcus owned 3% of the company. Do the math, $13.5 million in stock alone, not counting his salary, not counting his bonuses, not counting the investment properties I'd found listed under his name in county records. A condo in Soma worth $1.2 million. A house in Palo Alto worth $2.8 million. And still, he hadn't paid child support in 8 years. I called an attorney in March of 2017. Her name was Catherine Stone. She specialized in high net worth family law. Her retainer was $10,000. I didn't have $10,000. I had $4,000 in savings and a daughter who needed braces that would cost $5,000 over the next 2 years. Catherine listened to my story for 45 minutes without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "How much does he owe you?" I'd done the calculation a dozen times. $1,673 per month from November 2009 to March 2017. That's 89 months times 1,673, $148,897 plus interest. California allows 10% annual interest on unpaid child support. Add another $42,612. $191,509, I said. Catherine smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of a lawyer who knows she's about to ruin someone's day. We're going to get you every penny, she said, plus attorney's fees, plus a lien on his assets if he doesn't pay immediately. And we're going to make sure every judge in this courthouse knows exactly what kind of father Marcus Chen has been. The retainer was still $10,000. I took out a personal loan, 12% interest, 5-year term. I signed the papers in Catherine's office and wrote her a check that same day. We filed the motion for enforcement in April of 2017. We also filed for modification of child support based on Marcus's current income. The original order was based on his 2009 salary of $170,000. His current salary was $380,000 base plus stock compensation that pushed his total annual income to well over $1.5 million. California child support guidelines max out at income levels around that threshold, but the amount he owed would still triple. From $1,673 a month to just over $4,800 a month, and it would be retroactive. Marcus's attorney responded in May. They offered to settle for $90,000, half of what he actually owed with no interest and no modification going forward, just a one-time payment and we'd all move on. Catherine called me at work to tell me about the offer. What do you want to do? She asked. I want what he owes me. They're not going to go higher without a fight. Then we fight. We went to court in August of 2017. Family Court, Department 9. Judge Rebecca Walsh presiding. Marcus showed up in a charcoal Tom Ford suit and tie that probably cost more than my monthly rent. He had 2 attorneys with him. I recognized the lead counsel, Daniel Vreeland, charged $850 an hour, represented tech executives in divorces that made page 6. I wore the same black dress I'd worn to Rachel's wedding. I'd updated my hair and bought better shoes, but that was the extent of my courtroom fashion budget. Catherine wore a gray suit and carried a leather briefcase that had seen better days. We looked like public defenders compared to Marcus's legal team. Judge Walsh called the case. Catherine stood up and laid out the facts. Marcus had paid 6 months of child support and then stopped. He owed $191,509, including interest. He had the means to pay. His current annual income exceeded $1.5 million. We were asking for full payment of arrears plus modification of the ongoing support order plus attorney's fees. Daniel Vreeland stood up and told a different story. Marcus had been young and overwhelmed when his marriage ended. He'd made mistakes. He'd lost track of his obligations. He'd tried to reach out to me over the years, but I'd blocked all communication. He wanted to be part of Sophie's life now. He wanted to make things right. The settlement offer of $90,000 was generous considering the circumstances, considering that I'd never sought enforcement before, considering that I'd moved without notifying him and changed my phone number. That last part was interesting because it was completely false. I'd never moved after the divorce except from San Francisco to Dali City, and I'd filed a change of address with the court. I'd had the same cell phone number since 2005. Daniel Vreeland said it with such confidence that I almost wondered if I'd misremembered my own life. Judge Walsh looked at me. Ms. Morrison, have you maintained the same contact information since the divorce? Yes, Your Honor, same phone number since 2005. I filed a change of address with this court in 2009 when I moved from San Francisco to Dali City. I've been at the same address since then. My contact information has been available through the court the entire time. And Mr. Chen, Judge Walsh turned to Marcus. Have you attempted to contact Ms. Morrison at any point in the last 8 years? Marcus looked at Daniel Vreeland. Daniel looked at his notes. Then Daniel said, my client made several attempts to reach Ms. Morrison through mutual acquaintances. Names, Judge Walsh asked. There was a pause, a long pause, the kind of pause that happens when someone realizes they've been caught in a lie they can't back up. We'd have to provide those in discovery, Daniel said. Judge Walsh was not impressed. Mr. Vreeland, this is a straightforward enforcement action. Your client either paid child support or he didn't. He either attempted contact or he didn't. I'm not interested in vague assertions. Do you have evidence that Mr. Chen made good faith efforts to contact Ms. Morrison or pay support? Another pause. We'd like to request a continuance to gather that evidence, Your Honor. Denied. This case has been pending for 4 months. You've had plenty of time to gather evidence. Judge Walsh looked at her file, flipped through pages, stopped at one and read it carefully. Then she looked up at Marcus. Mr. Chen, is it true that your current annual compensation exceeds $1.5 million? Marcus shifted in his chair. That includes stock options, Your Honor. The base salary is… I didn't ask about your base salary. I asked if your total annual compensation exceeds $1.5 million. Yes, and is it true that you own property worth approximately $4 million? Those are investments. The equity isn't liquid. I'm not asking about liquidity. I'm asking about assets. Do you own property worth approximately $4 million? Yes. Judge Walsh closed the file. Here's what's going to happen. Mr. Chen, you owe Ms. Morrison $191,509 in back child support plus interest. You're going to pay it in full within 90 days. If you don't, I'm going to issue a lien against your assets and a wage garnishment. You're also going to pay Ms. Morrison's attorney's fees, which I'm estimating at $15,000 based on the work I see in this file. And your ongoing child support obliga. I sit across from Richard at a polished mahogany table in his lawyer's office. The walls are lined with leather-bound law books that probably cost more than my first car. Richard's attorney, a man named Gerald Whitmore, adjusts his wire-rimmed glasses and slides a document across the table. We've prepared a settlement agreement, Gerald says. His voice has that particular tone lawyers use when they're explaining things to someone they think is stupid. Given the circumstances, we believe this is more than fair. Richard leans back in his chair. He's wearing a suit that probably cost $3,000. The same suit he wore to Dad's funeral when he pretended to cry. I look down at the papers. My hands are shaking, not because I'm scared, because I need them to see me scared. What does it say? My voice comes out small, uncertain. It's simple. Richard's smile doesn't reach his eyes. You sign over your claim to any inheritance from Dad's estate. In exchange, we won't pursue legal action for the damage you caused at the house last month. I never damaged anything at the house. But I let my face flush. I let my eyes drop. The damage was extensive, Gerald interrupts. Broken windows, vandalism, we have witnesses. Lies, all lies, but Marcus sits beside me and puts a gentle hand on my arm. He knows what I'm doing. He's the only one in this room who does. How much would I owe? I ask. My voice trembles. Perfect. $47,000. Richard says it like he's doing me a favor. Or you sign your choice. I pick up the pen. My hand shakes on purpose this time. I read the document slowly, letting them think I'm struggling to understand the legal language. What I'm actually doing is reading Section 7, subsection C, the clause Marcus had me insist on last week when we tried to negotiate. All parties agree to submit to binding arbitration should disputes arise, with jurisdiction in Cook County, Illinois. Richard doesn't know that Illinois law requires full financial disclosure in arbitration. He doesn't know that once he signs this, I can subpoena every bank record, every hidden account, every forged document. He thinks he's getting me to waive my inheritance. What he's actually doing is giving me legal grounds to audit everything. I let my voice break. This feels wrong. Life's not fair, Sarah. Richard's voice is cold. You should have thought about that before you started making accusations. I look at Marcus. He nods, almost imperceptibly. I sign on the line. My hand shakes one last time. Richard doesn't even wait for the ink to dry. He pulls the document toward him, scrawls his signature, and stands up. Gerald, send her a copy. He looks at me. It's done, you're out. Gerald pours 2 glasses of bourbon from a crystal decanter on the shelf. He hands one to Richard. To family, Richard says. He's smiling now, really smiling. They clink glasses. I gather my things slowly, beaten, broken. I let my shoulders slump as I walk to the door. Sarah, Richard's voice stops me. I turn. You know this is for the best, right? You were never good with money anyway. Dad knew that. I nod. I let a single tear roll down my cheek. Marcus follows me out. In the elevator, he exhales. You were incredible, he whispers. He has no idea what he just signed. How long? 48 hours. Then I file for arbitration. The elevator doors open. I step out into the lobby. Behind me in that office on the 14th floor, Richard is celebrating. He thinks he won. In 48 hours, he'll know different. The Cook County Courthouse smells like old wood and bureaucracy. I arrive 30 minutes early for the arbitration hearing, wearing the Navy suit Marcus helped me pick out. Professional, unshakable. Richard arrives 10 minutes late. He's alone. Gerald apparently had a scheduling conflict. The new lawyer beside him, a younger woman named Jennifer Park, looks like she's been briefed approximately 15 minutes ago. The arbitrator, Judge Patricia Mendoza, doesn't waste time. She's been doing this for 23 years, and her expression suggests she's seen every trick in the book. Ms. Chen, you called this arbitration. Present your case. I stand. I don't shake. I don't hesitate. Your Honor, I'm requesting a full accounting of my father's estate, specifically the disposition of assets over the past 4 years prior to his death and the 8 months since. Richard's lawyer stands. Your Honor, this is a fishing expedition. The estate was settled according to the will that was changed 6 weeks before my father died, I say, while he was on morphine, while he couldn't hold a pen for more than 30 seconds without his hand cramping. I place a document on the table. This is a statement from Dr. Ellen Kravitz, Dad's oncologist. She states that in the final 2 months of his life, my father's motor control had deteriorated to the point where his signature was barely legible. She's seen the will. She doesn't believe he signed it. Richard's face doesn't change, but I see it. A pause, 2 seconds too long. That's speculation, Jennifer says, but her voice isn't confident. This isn't. I place another document down. This is a copy of the real will, the one Dad signed in 2019 when he was healthy, the one that split everything 50-50 between Richard and me. I found it in his safety deposit box, the one Richard said was empty. The color starts to drain from Richard's face. Your Honor, Jennifer begins. I'm not finished. My voice is calm, surgical. I'd like to enter into evidence 14 months of bank statements from Dad's primary checking account, statements that show regular withdrawals of $5,000 occurring every month for the year before his death, withdrawals that Richard signed for using power of attorney, withdrawals that total $70,000. I slide the statements across the table. Judge Mendoza picks them up. The power of attorney was legitimate, Jennifer says quickly. Medical expenses, Dad's medical expenses were covered by insurance. I have the EOBs. I place another stack of papers down. Explanation of benefits. Every treatment, every medication, every hospital stay covered. So where did $70,000 go? Richard sets his water glass down. Too hard. It makes a sharp sound against the table. Judge Mendoza looks up. Mr. Chen, do you have documentation for these withdrawals? Richard's jaw tightens. I used that money for Dad's care, supplemental nursing, comfort items. Then you'll have receipts. I don't phrase it as a question. Silence, 4 full seconds. I'm sure we can produce, Jennifer starts, because I have receipts. I place down another folder. From the nursing service Dad actually used, the service I paid for, $500 a week for 14 months, $31,000. I have every invoice, every check. I paid them all. Someone in the back of the courtroom, a court reporter maybe, makes a small noise, almost a gasp. Richard's hands are flat on the table now. Sarah, you don't understand. I understand that you stole from Dad while he was dying. My voice doesn't rise. It doesn't need to. I understand that you forged a new will, and I understand that you thought I was too stupid or too sad to notice. Judge Mendoza's expression hasn't changed, but she's leaning forward now. Chen, do you have the original will? The one you say was signed in 2019? I nod. I do, and I have something else. I pull out my phone. I connect it to the small speaker Marcus set up on the table. What is this? Jennifer asks. This is a recording from March 14, 2024, 7 weeks before Dad died. He was having a good day. He asked me to come over. I press play. Dad's voice fills the room, weak but clear. Sarah, baby, I need you to listen to me. Richard has been asking me to sign things, papers. He says it's for the estate to make things easier when I'm gone, but something feels wrong. I told him no. I told him the will from 2019 is fine, that it's fair, but he keeps pushing. A pause. Dad's breathing is labored. I don't trust him anymore. I want you to know that. Whatever happens, I want you to know that you and Richard were supposed to share everything equally. That's what I wanted. That's what I want now. I love you, sweetheart. The recording ends. Nobody speaks. I watch Richard. His face has gone white. His mouth opens, closes, opens again. He can't finish. That's dated, I say, and it's backed up in 3 separate locations. I also have the original audio file with metadata showing it was recorded on March 14, 2024 at 3:47 p.m. at Dad's address. Jennifer puts her hand on Richard's arm, but he shakes her off. You edited that. His voice comes out different, higher, tight. That's fabricated. I have the phone I recorded it on. I haven't deleted anything. Forensic audio analysis will prove it's authentic. I look at Judge Mendoza. I'm happy to submit it for analysis. Judge Mendoza's voice is measured. Mr. Chen, do you have any evidence to counter these claims? Richard starts to stand, then sits back down. The will was legitimate, he says, but the conviction is gone. Then you won't mind if we exhume it for handwriting analysis. I place one more document down. This is a petition for forensic document examination. I'm requesting that the 2024 will be analyzed by a certified examiner. If Dad really signed it, the analysis will prove that. If he didn't, I let the sentence hang. Jennifer whispers something to Richard. He shakes his head violently. I did what I had to do. Richard's voice breaks through. Do you have any idea what it was like, watching him waste away, dealing with all of it while you were off living your life? I was there every single day for the last 6 months, I say. My voice is still calm. I have the visitor logs from the hospice facility. I was there more than you were. That's not. He stops. His hands grip the edge of the table. Your Honor, Jennifer says, we'd like to request a recess. I'm not done. I look directly at Richard now. I also have documentation showing that you accessed Dad's investment accounts, 3 accounts totaling $470,000. You transferred them to your personal accounts over a period of 6 months, using the power of attorney. Richard's breathing is shallow now. Those transfers were for what? I lean forward. Because I have statements from the brokerage showing no corresponding medical expenses, no nursing home payments, no end-of-life costs, just transfers to you. Judge Mendoza's pen has stopped moving. The only sound is the clock on the wall. Mr. Chen, Judge Mendoza's voice is formal now. Do you have any documentation that these transfers were authorized by your father for legitimate purposes? Richard looks at Jennifer. Jennifer looks at her notes. No one speaks. I thought not. Judge Mendoza closes the folder in front of her. I'm ordering a full forensic accounting of the estate. I'm also referring this matter to the Illinois Attorney General's Office for investigation of potential elder financial abuse. And I'm nullifying the settlement agreement signed 3 days ago as it appears to have been signed under false pretenses. Richard's face goes slack. Your Honor, we'd like to. Jennifer tries. You're dismissed, Judge Mendoza says. We'll reconvene in 30 days. Mr. Chen, I strongly suggest you retain qualified legal counsel. You're going to need it. Richard stands. His legs are unsteady. He grabs the table for support. This isn't over, he says to me, but his voice is hollow. Yes, I say quietly, it is. He walks toward the door. His gait is off like the floor has tilted beneath him. Jennifer gathers her papers quickly, avoiding eye contact. As they leave, I hear whispers from the court reporter, the bailiff. Everyone saw it. Everyone knows. Marcus puts his hand on my shoulder. You did it. Judge Mendoza looks at me. Ms. Chen, off the record, I'm sorry you had to do this, but I'm glad you did. I nod. I should feel victorious, triumphant. Instead, I feel tired. And free. The Attorney General's investigation took 6 months. They found everything. The forged will, a handwriting expert confirmed Dad never signed the 2024 document. The $70,000 in cash withdrawals, Richard had used them to pay off gambling debts, not for Dad's care. The investment account transfers, all unauthorized, all illegal. Richard was charged with forgery, financial exploitation of an elderly person, and theft. He pleaded guilty to avoid trial. The judge sentenced him to 4 years in prison and ordered him to repay every dollar he stole, plus interest. He lost his job 3 days after the indictment hit the news. The engineering firm where he'd worked for 18 years released a statement saying they could not employ someone who violated the public trust. His wife, Monica, filed for divorce. She got the house. He got nothing. The last I heard, he was working at a hardware store in Naperville, living in a studio apartment and driving a 15-year-old Civic. The luxury car was sold to pay restitution. I don't check on him anymore. The original will was probated. Dad's estate was split exactly as he'd intended, 50-50. After legal fees and restitution, my half came to $680,000. I used some of it to pay off my condo. Some went into retirement accounts. The rest I invested in a small business, a financial literacy nonprofit that helps families navigate end-of-life planning and elder care. I named it Second Signature because everyone deserves a second chance to get it right. I still live in Chicago, but I moved to a different neighborhood, a place with tree-lined streets and a coffee shop on the corner that knows my order. I have a balcony with plants that are somehow still alive. I have a life that's mine. Marcus and I still meet for lunch once a month. He never brings up the case unless I do. Mostly we talk about normal things, his kids, my nonprofit, the Bears' terrible season. Last month, Richard sent me a letter. It was forwarded from my old address. He asked if we could talk. He said he was sorry. He said he'd changed. I read it twice. Then I put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I'll respond. Maybe I won't. For the first time in my life, no feels like enough. I don't tell the story to teach you a lesson. I tell it because silence is what people like Richard count on. They count on you being too tired, too scared, too nice to fight back. But here's what I learned. Documentation beats denial. Truth outlasts lies. And the people who love you don't steal from you while you're grieving. My name is Sarah Chen. I was my father's daughter. I watched him die. And I watched someone I trusted betray everything he believed in. But I didn't just survive it. I won. If you're in the middle of your own war right now with a family member, a spouse, someone who thinks you won't fight back, start building your yellow envelope. Save the emails. Record the conversations where it's legal. Document everything. Your truth is waiting. You just have to be brave enough to speak it. Hit that like button if this story spoke to you. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And comment freedom below if you're claiming your life back today, because you deserve better than silence, and you're stronger than they think.